Hi, everybody. It is Thursday, March 18th. My job is done, I guess. I've told you what the day, and I don't know what else to say. Oh, I remember. Thank you, everybody, for a great live stream yesterday. It was so much fun. A lot of people come up to me, or they write to me, and they go, I'd love to join that, but I'm not a bass player. I'm not a tech person. I don't know what I would have to say. I'm just thinking, man, yesterday was so great. Just it turned into like just this food fest on there with everybody talking about their favorite kind of foods and restaurants that were located near them and stuff. It was great, man. I was salivating all over myself by the time we finished that stream. It was great. It's this is what I love about it. It's a clubhouse about humanity and everybody. And I loved being able to close out the stream with Adele in her leprechaun outfit playing Danny Boy on the trumpet. It just doesn't get better than that. I think everything peaked at that point and it was time to call it. It's great. Oh man, I love it. I just loved it. But I love that community so much. It's just growing into this extended family that I have so much appreciation for. Everybody is so cool on there, and I say it every time though, but watching the interaction, the friendships and the relationships that have developed on the stream, where it's not just people, what kind of strings do you use, man, and not communicating with each other, but the level of communication and familiarity now between so many of you is really makes this thing to me so special and absolutely motivates me to never stop this. I think I found something in my life that I can carry on until the end of time. So we'll keep it up and we'll build the community. But I'm so fond of the way this has evolved that I just want everybody, that anybody new who comes in, to be as cool as the people who are there already, because it's pretty special. Been running around busy this morning. Actually had Jenny Cote is her name. She came by and picked up a book from me, and she was the contractor who took care of everything for us for the Grammy premiere show. She's a wonderful coordinator. And so it was great. She called, and she lives locally. I said, let's not deal with the postal system. Why don't you just come on over? And we both had shots, so we still masked, but we could get together. It was really great to see her, since the Grammy thing that we did was all virtual and it was just emails back and forth. So it was great to see her. The little knuckleheads had breakfast and they've been out running around the backyard. And after this, I'm gonna meet Blue, and we're gonna talk book and look at some of the things that are going on. And I've got some meetings coming up talking about some other publishing companies, and we'll see. I just want to get this stuff moving. I've got a lot of books, and and since I'm still basically doing it all myself, it's still a handful. So I'm looking at all kinds of opportunities for Asia and Europe still. So we'll see how that goes. Then I just started thinking, musically about where I wanted to go today with this. And one of my favorite artists, I'll be playing again soon. I mean, I know I've been doing a lot of things about just turning you on to music and talking and just sort of sitting here with people looking at the screen going, who's the old dude, man? What's going on here? I mean, I will be playing again. I promise you. I've been playing in the evenings, but that's a whole different thing. Just trying to relearn immediate family songs, get my chops back up from when we can get together at the end of the month and start really serious shedding and rehearsing and writing. So that's a. But one of my favorite artists I've ever recorded and toured with is Véronique Sanson. I've done some Vero on earlier videos on this channel, but I just wanted to revisit her again. The first time I recorded with Vero was in 1974, I believe, at Caribou Ranch in Colorado. I was there doing a Stephen Stills album, and it turns out at the time, Vero was married to Stephen Stills, and she was pregnant with their yet-to-be son, Christopher, who's also a really great artist in his own right. He's got like the best of Vero and the best of Stephen in his music, and he's an amazing cat. But so it was great because Vero was there, and Stephen said, "Oh, my wife's doing an album. Let's cut some tracks for her." And we did a few tracks up there, and we were snowbound. I mean, Caribou Ranch was a remarkable facility, Jim Guercio's studio, and it was just this thing in the mountains. And during the winter, I mean, you look out and it was just this. It was like a Currier and Ives print. It was just this exquisite landscape, all snowed in and everything. And when you're in that situation, really, all you can pretty much do for the most part is work. Because you go outside, I mean, somebody might have wanted to go out skiing or something like that on occasion. But for the most part, not many distractions. You're in the studio. So I worked with Vero then, and then I hadn't seen her for, almost a couple of decades. And they contacted me in 1992 to see if I could record with her and work with her. And so I think the first project we did, I think it was the first one, was an album called Sans Regrets. And it was just, she is a force of nature as a writer, as a vocalist, and as a pianist. I mean, she's the only artist I've gone on the road with who carries her own concert Bosendorfer piano on the road with her. And man, she is a ferocious pianist, just an exquisite pianist. And the thing that was great is, when I started working with her, I became friends with her sister Viole, who was wonderful, and their parents were just fantastic. I absolutely adored her folks, and I loved spending time with them too. But Vero is just remarkable. The saddest part for me is all of the people who speak French that I know say, "Oh God, her lyrics, she's unbelievable lyricist." But for the fact that I really don't speak French, it's frustrating to not really be on the inside of it, and translated, a lot of things still don't work as well as they do in their original languages. And when I'd go over, because I studied high school French, and I remember the first time I got to Paris in like 1970, I went to a cafe. I couldn't order a meal. I could conjugate verbs, but I couldn't order a meal because they taught us grammatical language in high school. They never taught us practical, everyday street speaking language. So I figured I'll get to France and I'll maybe start to learn some of this again. Everybody French, the crew and a bunch of the people involved in the thing, wanted to practice English. So they would only try to speak English with me, and nobody was helping with my French. So I just finally just hell with it and just gave up. And the thing that was great with Vero is, I mean, she'd lived in the States and stuff, and she speaks fluent English. So, I mean, it was no issue for us to hang. Where sometimes, like I've been in other countries working with artists that don't speak any English, in Japan and stuff. And it gets a little more difficult. You have to have a translator hanging with you. There's just so much you can do through gestures and nods. But with Vero, it was seamless. And she's one of the funniest people I've ever known, just a force. But it's interesting, like when being in France with her, they knew her as Vero. And we hung out on the road. We were like really bonded on the road. We'd go out shopping, she'd say, come on with me. Let's go sightseeing. Let's go do things. And I'm sitting there hanging out with her. And then the next thing you know, we're like walk into a shopping mall and people spot her and they're freaking out. It's like Elvis came into the place. And it was just hard for me to relate to the fact that she's such a huge star in France. And I always got such a kick out of that with her. And she was really one of these people. It's just like one of those thoughtful artists that gave everybody time and hung with them. And, that to me is really the sign of really a special artist. It's like when I did Rhinestone with Dolly Parton, and we would arrive every day at the studio, and she'd go around and she knew all the grips names, all the extras. She'd go around and say hi to everybody. When it came time for meal break, she would sit with everybody and have lunch. You know, it wasn't one of these standoffish people that's like goes to their trailer and doesn't speak to anybody. They're beneath them. You know, and there's a lot of artists in this business that have been like that, where you hear about, like, when they're on the road, when they're in a hotel, if they're walking down the hall, the hotel staff has to avert their gaze, you know, turn away, you know. Ooh. Like, I'm kind of going, what are you, Medusa? If they look at you, they're going to turn to stone or something. I mean, what the hell is wrong with these people? That kind of arrogance, just, I have no patience for it, and I'll call them out on it if I'm around people like that. And I just really call out their bullshit on it. But so Vero is a remarkable artist, and I loved working with her. When we'd be over there, we would tour, we would do TV shows, and plus I would spend, you know, like maybe 2 months in France with her. We would rehearse for a few weeks. We did, I think, last time I played the Olympia Theater, which is like the major venue in Paris in terms of prestige. I mean, we would play some of the larger like arena gigs and things like that. There's some massive gigs, like when we played there with Phil Collins, we did massive gigs. But with Vero, the beauty of playing the Olympia, it's like, you know, playing Carnegie Hall or something like that, is Neil Wilkinson and I, they had us in a hotel. He was the drummer on it. We would stay up they had a Mercure, I think, up in Pigalle. And we stayed there, and we walked every day. I think we played 28 nights at the Olympia. And halfway down every day, there was this one crepe stand we would always stop at, and the woman would always be looking for us. And by the time we got to the crepe stand, she had our crepes right. She knew what we wanted and everything. It became like this whole family hang. It was really great. So I'm going to play a few songs from this now. That on this album, excuse me, back to my notes. Of course, it's Vero on piano and vocals. She worked with a fabulous cat named Hervé Leduc. And Hervé did the programming and keyboards on her stuff. He did the albums, and he toured with her. And he's one of the more talented people I've ever worked with. It was a different band for the studio than we had on tour. Hervé was there and myself, but on the album, Carlos Vega and Chester Thompson shared drumming duties on the album. Great Michael Thompson is playing guitar on it. Vince Denham is playing saxophone, and there was some additional synth work done by Larry Cohn, and violin by Karen Briggs, and then the Memphis Horns were on this, which was amazing. The album was engineered by Peter Kelsey and produced by Vero and Bernard St. Paul, who was executive producer on the project, and they worked together forever. And the thing that's great is, for the most part, I'm still in touch with all these people. The tragic one on there was losing Carlos Vega, but still talk to Chester. We're still work with Michael Thompson and all these guys, and I still talk to Peter Kelsey and Bernard, and Hervé and I stay in touch on occasion. And so it's really great. These things many times become almost like a family. You're doing an album project, but sometimes it goes a lot deeper than that. And especially for me with the other players, we do so many projects together that we really do become like an extended family, kind of like when they talk about the Wrecking Crew and all this. You have this cluster of people that work together all the time, and it gets to the point where so much in the studio becomes second nature, only because we've all worked together so much that everybody, it's not like trying to figure out a new cat that how do they fit into this stuff. Everybody seamlessly kind of drops into these projects. And one thing, I saw a note from Willie Ornelas today saying that Paul Jackson had passed away, and I'm trying to find out if that happened, but Paul Jackson and Mike Clark were the rhythm section in Herbie Hancock's band, and still one of the greatest records to me ever in that genre is Thrust by Herbie Hancock. And Paul Jackson's bass playing on that is so stellar, so astounding. I was fortunate enough to meet Paul a number of years ago. I believe he had moved to Japan a long time ago. But I'm trying to follow through on that. And if it is true, man, my heart breaks for the bass community for losing this really a giant in the industry. He's not one of those names that when you look at the best of lists and all this crap that people keep trying to put up and it's go, man, Paul was a monster. He was such a great player. And there's some great videos of Paul Jackson and Mike Clark just sitting and playing together that are worth looking at to see one seriously badass rhythm section. You know, they're right there with Rocco Prestia and David Garibaldi, and you know, I mean, there's a whole bunch of these iconic rhythm sections, and they certainly were one of them. So that was just a slight diversion there, but I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of Vero's songs. They're just really interesting songs. I love her voice. And I love the construction of her music. She's just really a unique, interesting artist. To me, nobody sounds like her. So this is called Pain de Coeur, I think, Pain de Coeur. And here we go. Let's get some music going here.
Il est 4 heures et je l'attends. J'ai du chagrin, je vais dans l'appartement, serrant les poings. J'ai peur, je viens dans l'ombre vagabonde, et puis là j'entends le bruit des secondes qui fait un. Panne de cœur, panne de cœur, panne de cœur, panne de cœur. Il est 4 heures et je l'attends, toujours en vain. Il y a un accident sur le rond-point.
Playing these songs live with her was really fun. It was intense. And the thing that's always great is when you're working in another country and you look at, and the whole audience is singing the song. I mean, it's their language, it's their music, and they are just into it. I mean, she really had an absolutely dedicated following. I mean, there's books been written about her and lots of stuff. She's an amazing artist. But that was always the thing that I loved, is when you'd be on stage playing and you'd look down and the whole audience is, and they're singing along with every song. It was great. I wish I worked with her for probably 10 years over there, and then ended up really having to stop because of French tax issues. I was being screwed over by the French tax people, and they would not resolve anything, and they just kept telling me I owed lots of taxes, and I already had paperwork that I had paid all the taxes that were due, and it just became a nightmare, and I finally had to quit after I did a whole project with her, and they attached my fee on the thing without even telling me or giving me paperwork. So it's a drag. Sometimes you get caught up in a bureaucracy that has nothing to do with what you love doing, and it screws up what you love. So, but Vero and I stay in touch. I mean, we're still really, really dear friends. So that's still there, but we just couldn't do any work over there. So, so here's another one. This is called Rianca Delo, and I'm just gonna not talk so much and just play some great music. Here we go. Forgot that.
Rappelle-toi comme elle est belle et touche-la et sans le sel. C'est un don miraculeux. C'est la naissance de la gamelle. C'est
it was interesting on that. I played Frankenstein on all these things, and we went in on this one and doubled the bass part with synth bass too to get some of the and stuff. So we're like stacked in that. It was fun to do that. So here's another one. I'm going to keep moving here because I don't want these to all get too long. This is called Mon Voisin, Voisin. Her ballads are just really beautiful, like this, the atmospheres. Again, this is 1992.
Ils sont rentrés, j'entends du bruit sur les paliers. Peut-être ils vont jouer du piano. Alors il arrivera, dira bonjour, les embrassera. Et j'entendrai son pas. Je devinerai où il va. Je devinerai où il va. Ils sont rentrés, j'entends les bruits dans l'escalier. Peut-être il va jouer du piano. Moi j'écouterai si fort. J'écouterai encore et encore. Et il s'arrêtera. Je devinerai où il va. Je devinerai où il va. Mais je ne veux plus y penser. Mais je ne veux plus l'écouter. Je vais bientôt aller me coucher. Mais je ne veux plus y penser, non. Mais je ne veux plus y penser. Mais je ne veux plus l'écouter. Je vais bientôt aller me coucher. Mais je ne veux plus y penser. Ils sont rentrés. Le piano a cessé de jouer. Je crois que ça chante tout au fond. Je suis triste s'il y va. Parce qu'alors je ne l'entends pas. Mais si j'entends sa voix, je devinerai où il va. Je devinerai où il va. Ils sont rentrés. Et puis je vois mes mains trembler. Et si le piano s'arrêtait? Et puis s'il ne venait pas? Ou bien alors s'il sonnait chez moi? Un jour il viendra. Je devinerai où il va. Je devinerai où il va. Mais je ne veux plus y penser. Mais je ne veux plus l'écouter. Je vais bientôt aller me coucher. Mais je ne veux plus y penser, non. Mais je ne veux plus y penser. Mais je ne veux plus l'écouter. Je vais bientôt aller me coucher. Mais je ne veux plus y penser.
Yeah. I just love her phrasing and just her melodic lines are just unlike anybody else I've ever really worked with. It's really cool. Now this is the last one here. This is Sans Regret. This was the title track to the album. So let me play this for you.
Dans cette ville, qu'est-ce qu'elle peut bien faire? Calmer sa colère. Comme une louve solitaire. Elle est partie pour chasser la brume. Son cœur éclaté. Elle est partie pour ce que nous fûmes. Avant de détruire le passé. Ah, tu jamais devant le Séraphi, n'était venu jusqu'à moi. Je voudrais qu'elle te dise, je me pardonne mes fautes qui m'ont un jour offensé. Et je dirai tout haut que j'ai un jour aimé, sans regret, sans regret. Et elle a fui depuis la lune l'appelait vers les anciennes turbes des dieux adorait, sans regret, non sans regret.
Veronique Sanson, Sanson. Tons of stuff on YouTube with Vero. Don't check her out. I mean, there's a lot where she's really the featured pianist on it too, and she's a remarkable pianist. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to hook up with Blue in about 28 minutes here, and we're going to grab some lunch and talk about the book and stuff, game plans with it. So I'm going to wish everybody the very best. As always, stay safe, and just think about all the people that are just working hard to keep things afloat. Last night, actually, went out to dinner in a restaurant for the first time in a year. There's a local restaurant, had outdoor seating, all pretty spaced quite out. And my wife and I went there, and we just kind of looked at each other. It's been a year since we've been able to do this. And everybody did the right thing. And it's going to be some time before we can really get back to being more shoulder to shoulder and without masks. That's for sure. But it was nice to get out finally and feel some fresh air, in a place, and some humanity around you. So it was good. So, but we thank the staff and everybody who was working there. Just going, thank you guys for doing this, because they got to deal with people the whole time. So it's more difficult for them. So I've been yakking way too much today here. Just a lot of stuff going on. So I'm going to get going. And again, thank everybody for yesterday, and especially thank you, Adele, for the trumpet finale to the stream. You're one fantastic character. I love you to death. So, okay, I will talk to you tomorrow, and more music tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.